Okay, guys, all we're doing is bullet points anyway, so I think I showed you ahead of time, at least my guys, I know I did. But let's go ahead and introduce the guys.
Sorry to my kid.
Huh? Oh, apologies, Tanner.
Yep.
I think he was intimidated by your size.
Well, that'll happen.
All right, it's all good. Anyway, if you guys don't mind, introduce yourselves and tell everybody, where you're from at this point. Start from Luke.
Luke McFadden, I'm with Greenway Equipment. We're out of eastern Arkansas and Boot Hill, Missouri.
On the top there.
We
Okay.
good? We good now? Okay. Everybody hear me or do I need to repeat it? All right.
My name's Carter Stera. I'm from David City, Nebraska. It's like an hour west of here. And I'm an independent dealer. Been doing it for a couple of years. I interned with CropX when they were before the merge, and then kind of took over a dealership. Became a dealer that way. So
John Beasley from Scriven, Georgia. We're company mainly deals with consulting for row crops, cotton, peanuts, do some tobacco. We have sensors in multiple crops. The better. I'm not starting over. Maybe y'all heard some of it. We have sensors in multiple crops: blueberries, satsumas, pecans, or pecans. If you're from Georgia, you get pecans. And then, but yeah, we've been a CropX with CropX for 4 years, I think.
If you say pecan, you're a Yankee. I mean, that's the way it is.
I'm Tanner Sorensen. I'm from the Panhandle, Nebraska. I can tell you the town, but nobody know it anyway, so we'll just skip over that part. Been with Ranky for a long time. My dad actually started a company about 40 years ago, so got tied into CropX that way, and we've been pushing this really hard because we're in an area where there's a lot of water decline in our water reservoirs. And it's kind of a personal mission for me to try to find ways to help the growers combat that so that we don't lose our production.
When Jason and I were talking about who we'd put together for a sales panel, we wanted to make sure we kind of covered quite a bit of territory here. So we have somebody from Ranky, we got the retail end, we got the agronomy end, so on all sides kind of covered, I believe. So, all right. When you guys are going about prospecting new business, how, just share a few stories about, how you're trying to get that done and how you approach the prospecting end. Whoever want to go first.
For us, being a John Deere dealer, we've got technology out there on equipment already. So kind of targeting the guys that are early adopters on the technology on the equipment already. Those are guys going to be more prone to trying something that dad or grandpa never did with a soil moisture sensor. So when we're looking at who to target, who's going to market this best for us, who will actually use it and trust it, that's where we start.
I'd say for me, I grew up on a farm, and so my dad, my uncle, my grandpa, we all farmed. And at least in my area, a lot of people kind of knew my background of who I was, and I was kind of in the area, so it kind of helped to know what was going on with like land sales or so-and-so, just like small town gossip stuff, I guess. That kind of helps get inside and just kind of knowing that stuff. And I think that was kind of a big input, at least for me, getting right away, was getting to get to know them personally and like already having that background, and then eventually becoming more, learning more about people who I've never heard of, or within our farm, other people we never heard of, to just kind of get more sales outside of my area, I guess. So
I think most of our new business is, a little bit has come from social media. Twitter has been fairly good. Snapchat, but most of our businesses, I've been in that area for 25 years looking at cotton and peanuts and row crops, and I've got some really good help. We cover 8 counties, so we have a wide area of a reputation already. And so when we started working with soil sensors, kind of piqued interest with folks that we're not maybe not doing consulting business with us, but enjoyed trying to get the most out of their water.
Like I said before, we're a Ranky dealership, so that kind of put us in a unique situation where we're in contact with a lot of the growers already, and they're able to talk to them about their concerns and different things with what they're doing on their operations. So it really was a foot in the door for us to add this extra option onto what we were already offering them for technology and solutions for them to do better yield improvements and so on and so forth in their on their operations. So most of ours comes down to cold calls. We go out and talk to the guys about it because it's not really something that's prevalent in our area. We've got soil moisture sensors in our area, but it's more of a device that the agronomists use. It's not something that the grower really looks at. So it's been quite a dynamic change for our area. So.
Thanks. There was, so that everybody, I'm feeling a lot of impact because these are real experiences. This isn't hypothetical. These guys are doing it and doing it well, as far as I can tell. One of the things that I'd like to ask the panel is, prospecting new business, that's tough. But something else that I think can be a challenge is developing the people. You all have those people who have 1 or 2 probes out there. How do we get them to go full farm? How do we get them to buy a few more probes? How do we develop our current customers into bigger customers?
For us, it's a lot of what they talked about yesterday on the panel is follow up, mid-season, postseason, asking the right questions, getting them, make sure they're actually using the data that's being offered that they're paying for. If they don't use it, they're not getting any value out of it. They're not gonna keep what they have or use it again, or especially buy more. So once we, it takes effort on our end to keep them engaged because they've got so much stuff going on. It's, it's easy to look over, but if we can find a way to just make a phone call or sit down and look at the app with them and talk about how to utilize it and how it can save them money, make them money in some kind of way, they'll be more prone to go bigger with it. So
Carter, before you go, I just want to touch on that. We were having this conversation at my table, and I said, it's your job to make this valuable. One of the people at the table said, Mike, I have a grower who didn't even open the app at all through the season because it was equip money and they don't care. But the reality is they should care, right? And you guys can bring that to them. So go ahead, Carter. Sorry.
Yeah, I think the big thing is kind of that customer service side. I had a couple farmers who were like, you did everything you said you're gonna do. You work with the probe, you help me, give me recommendations, and you did it all. So I'll give you a few more probes next year. So it's kind of like having that integrity, that day one, of having that say with them, and just having that customer service and just following through with that kind of helps farmers get to that next level of where they want to be in future years, of having that trust that you kind of develop over throughout the season. And it's always having that customer service is a big thing. Because like with farming, there's plenty of stresses to go through in season and off season. Irrigating being a pretty large one, we want to make that as easy as possible for them. And it's like we want to be able to have them go to bed knowing that they don't need to irrigate or they made the right decision. So, and
yeah, I would say communication is probably the biggest thing. So I've been doing this a long time. Years ago when I started, this is probably my 4th sensor approach, but we started with watermark sensors where you went, hooked up alligator clips, got the reading, put it in a spreadsheet, sent it to the grower. He may or may not open it. We transitioned to where we were actually getting online, but the grower still had to log on to go see, check his email to get a PDF. And that the reason I switched over to CropMetrics at the time was the app. And that's, to me, that's how you develop your clients. They have to be able to get that information instantly, and they need to know that you're following through with it. We send reports once a week, and I do it on Sundays. I would rather do it another day, but we do it on Sundays, and then Sunday afternoon the phone rings with what's going on, what our comments are. But and as far as growing and developing making those clients bigger, we have price points, if they agree to buy 5 or more, we'll give them a discount, but the app, anybody that was with CropX during the transition, they'll tell you how critical that app is when they had app issues.
I'm kind of in a fledgling state of this. We've only had probes out for 1 year with CropX, and we're just getting ready to start our second one here, but I kind of look at this as getting full farm adoption starts with day one. If you don't go to this customer and convince them that this is something that they've got to have, that it's essential to their operation, they're not going to utilize the equipment in year one, and they're not going to see the value in it in year one. So they're not going to want to adopt more and grow it in the following year. And if you don't really drive that home, in the first year by staying in contact, like these guys say, they're not going to get the value out of it. They might get some reduced turns on the center pivots. They might get a little boost in yield if they follow it somewhat, but it's not going to sink home just as much as it can without having that full use.
I'm going to brag on Jason's guy here real quick, okay? Because Tanner went the extra step and hired somebody specifically to handle his CropX business. This is a step for growth. Okay, if you're willing to take that step at it, then I think, fledgling or not, buddy, I think you're on the way. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, that kind of came out of necessity, though. It was a point that even just after the first year, there was no way I was going to be able to handle what the potential was for our company. So for the success of it, and like I said, my area needs it. We need to be doing this, because if not, my farmers aren't going to be able to irrigate because the government's going to shut them down. So for not just my potential, but for the growers' potential, we needed to look at this. So.
All right, before I get to my next question, I just have one question to ask everybody else out here. How do you catch a unique dog? Anybody know? Unique up on him. Okay, that's dad joke. So anyway. All right, guys. So all of you have different existing businesses as far as the Ranky, as far as your agronomy, different products that you offer already. How has CropX helped you to possibly move other products that you have and include them in the same thing? Has one helped the other? So.
Yeah, for sure. For us, we're a John Deere equipment dealer, so we're in constant contact with all the farmers in our area, whether they're running grain equipment or not, because at some point we're quoting them, or we've got relationships with them in some other fashion. So our precision ag department's big push is engagement on my John Deere and getting customer engagement with their data and being able to use it for their operation. So when we start talking about CropX and soil moisture sensors and irrigating, tying another string to our customers on how they need us and we're helping them is just another way that they feel like they can't farm their operation without our help. So like I said, we start with my operations and getting the data from the equipment side. And then once we reach into because in our area, the irrigation market is kind of untapped as far as these products go. There's a lot of them floating around, but none of them are really strong, dependable companies. So you get a equipment dealer that is with a reputable brand like John Deere, and they come in and they're offering a product and our support on it. And it's just another string we tie them into, and they feel like they have to have us. So.
Yeah, for me, I don't do any other service. I just do the probes, and I also help on the farm and stuff. So my biggest thing, I guess, with helping out within a different grower, I would say they may have another agronomist who helps them, and trying to see if I can work together with that agronomist, being like, hey, you're telling me not to water, my agronomist says to water, and just kind of maybe they're like, hey, they can log in to the CropX app. Let's work together. Let's see how we can help you the best, and just kind of working alongside, not trying to compete with any other agronomists. We're all in the same team overall. So just trying to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, sorry, if you take one thing away from this, it's that we're agronomists friends, right? It's a tool in their toolbox. It's an objection I hear, especially from kind of equipment dealers, because they're consultants in a separate box in their mind. It's a tool they can use, right? So thank you, Carter. That's That's huge.
Yes, in the consulting business, I think the sensor business is just a really good complement. Uh, it's another service that we can provide, a precision service. We do scouting, precision soil sampling, imagery work. I really like being able to write the VRI scripts, for our growers. So it's a good complement, both the sensors have helped me get on farms that I haven't been able to get onto, and then scouting has helped me get sensors on farms that I wouldn't have got sensors on farms. So I think they complement each other really well. This is just a good product that we can offer growers.
From a metal sales aspect, at this point, it's been kind of hard to say one way or the other whether the direct sale of CropX has affected our pivot sales. But that being said, the industry across the board, every major pivot manufacturer is looking for these type of devices. They want the full suite of software. They want sensors out in the field telling the customers what they want, and that's being driven by the growers and what their concerns are. There's a labor shortage. They don't have time to go out and check the growing farms that everybody's getting. They don't have time in their day to do everything they need to do to be profitable in the tight economy. So I know, that being said, it's something that's very important for the irrigation industry to really develop this and work together with good companies like CropX to get a good partnership so that we have this, because going forward, if you don't have this, there won't be pivots to sell because they're going to go to the companies that have this type of products.
Yeah, so, and thank you guys so much for coming up here. Last thing, it's not an easy business that we're all in. And we all face kind of obstacles. If you could share a story with everybody, just kind of an obstacle, maybe a common one or maybe a unique one, but something you've come up against. Just so we all know we're in this together. And also, if you ever have obstacles, call Preston.
I make a good lead blocker, at least I thought until I met Tanner. So
a common obstacle we run into, especially with this being such a new concept for farmers today, is monitoring their soil moisture.
in the southeast,
Yeah, in the southeast, we run into a lot of customers. Well, this isn't for my operation. This isn't going to work. We're in rice country, so it is a little bit different ball game. I've had several customers tell me, I've got a rice and soybean rotation. A lot of my beans are in a water rotation with my rice, and I'm going to water my beans when I'm not watering my rice, or they're just not going to get watered. So for us, understanding that a sensor is not for every field, not to over push or oversell, just let them know that we understand, like, you're right, that it's not for this field, but there is somewhere on your farm that this will work. And if you just try it, you're gonna see some results that you can use or save money or even make yourself more money on the yield. So
and I would say, at least for me, for a lot of my sales have come from just kind of walking up on someone's farm. I did some cold calls, but I did go up and talk to people, and that was kind of hard because there were days where some farmers were not happy to see anybody, and I kind of got some words when I would do that. But yeah, you just got to catch them on the good day, and if you don't, and just kind of, and even on cold calls, just not get discouraged and know that you always can. Maybe next year you can get them, or maybe call them back later in the off season or something. Just the big thing is not getting discouraged over not making a sale, or just them not working out, I guess.
Our biggest obstacle is labor. We can overcome a lot of these other things, but being able to get the probes in on time, keep them serviced, and get our reports out, plus manage our consulting acres. You can find interns and you can find summer help, but when you start dealing with putting these probes in and managing the probes and understanding the graphs, an intern can do it, but by the time you get him trained, he's gone back to school and we still have 2 or 3 months left in the season. We have, really long growing season. So definitely labor is our biggest holdup. Quality labor. I can find some field walkers, but I can't find many that can make sense of the data.
No, I can definitely identify with everything these guys have said. Labor is a huge one. I mean, everybody's fighting that, but one of the big issues that I've run into, I think a lot of people in Nebraska have, is just our history with soil moisture. There has been a lot of products out there in the past that promised the world, these things are the greatest thing ever. We're trying to do things we're still struggling to do today and never delivered on those promises. So overcoming those overpromised products with growers that never were really interested in the first place has been a huge hurdle for me. And then it always comes back to, this is the way we've always done it. We don't really need that technology, trying to overcome that mentality, especially with a lot of my growers are of that older generation where they don't think technology has any value is a huge obstacle for my area.
You mentioned quality labor. What would be your idea of a quality agronomist? How many sites or probes could one guy do at scale?
So
She's sitting right over there. You want to take this one, Billy?
I was gonna call her out. I'm glad you did.
Yeah,
first.
do you want to take this one out of here?
okay, we have about 130, and I do 100 of them, and we scout 50,000 acres of row crop, and but now I work 7 days a week during the summer, so yeah, I think a person could do 200. If that's all they did, they could do 200 in 4 days and have and it could help scout on the side.
So this is something we talk about quite frequently. So in the past, in my past job, I did 135 Syntech probes with the help of 2 interns. And then doing stuff on the side, doing prescription work. And with these CropX probes, when we were talking about it, we figured that we can probably do at least 150 with me focusing directly on that, if not 200. However, I do think that if you are going to hire some interns, it is beneficial to kind of have 2. I've noticed that if you put 2 together, they tend to talk more and they work more. Putting one by himself, they park in a field. They do their own thing. So having 2 just maximizes their ability to maybe work harder alongside you. I also think it's a great benefit for them to take back. If I had never done my internship, I would have never ended up in precision agriculture. So it really just depends on your area, how many acres you have, how many probes you have, how stretched out you are. But typically we're going to shoot for 150 for one person and on up with interns.
Thanks, Sally.
BT, we got any questions back there? What's the sales model? Do we own the equipment or do we use the lease model? Okay. Do you lease or do you sell? You do both. Yeah, I think all y'all do, but anyway.
We do both. It's still trying to figure out which exactly is the best method, I guess. We would prefer the leasing option, but a lot of government programs out there would kind of require a purchase option. So we roll with either. We try to package a support package in with a purchase option for years in advance. That way we don't have to go back the next year and ask for more money to continue to support the product. But like I said, we're rolling with both for right now. So whatever you prefer.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about this for a second. I do like Greenway's approach in that what Luke's talking about is that they've given a 3-year bundle, even to the people that are buying, that are purchasing from them, and they're going to take these things in. They're giving them a 3-year bundle that includes the service and support for that, for that time period, so that they don't lose contact with them. It's not just something they put in the garage and say the heck with. Okay, they're helping them, they're helping them with it, and they've got it priced in right off the bat. Whereas when most people just sell these things, that 1 year they've sold it and it's done, back away unless you offer some sort of support package with it. So I feel like it's a pretty good way they're doing those things. Yeah, go ahead, BT, you got it.
Question is, when you have someone who's got a larger operation, it's like one sensor or one, how do you push them out of that first year?
Great question. For those online, the question is, big farm, one sensor, how do we get, more sensors on following year?
We kind of covered this developing current, but go ahead, guys. I mean,
Well, you do a real good job with that one sensor.
that's
And that, and you make them, I've got a guy that's got 10,000 acres and he started with just a couple, but now he has several, but I made sure that he was happy that I communicated with him. And I made his experience as good as I could make it. Oh, and then give him a price break for multiple units.
I might throw in there too, I know that a lot of the Ranky guys have been real hesitant to jump on board and do these probes, but, and it is very important to have the hands-on with the probes and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to. I know there's a lot of people in this room that would specifically say you absolutely have to do that. But, that being said, our first year was pretty successful. And I didn't have the background of actually getting hands-on, feeling comfortable setting those set points. So someone that doesn't have that, but would like to get into it, the program itself is successful enough that the grower can still get results out of it just using the automatic set points and that data. There was a particularly large grower that I've really tried to have a good relationship with. And we sold them probes last year. We put a couple out on their field. They're potato growers, so you can't tell them anything that they don't already know anyways. And we put these out there and I didn't touch the probes. I didn't do anything with them the whole year. I had Felix look at them a couple times because I was concerned about what the graphs looked like, but I didn't know what they should look like to begin with. And they came back to us this year and they want to continue doing more. So there's certain levels of it that you.
That's really good news,
But,
by the way.
but yeah, but they want to do more. So, certain levels of it, but like I said, I want to encourage the Ranky guys that haven't jumped in yet to go ahead and try it. Get some out there, see what it'll do, because CropX has done a good job of putting everything together to make it easy for everybody.
for you Ranky dealers out there in the Hoover space, please listen to what he just said. Anyway. Ranky dealers being resistant to this. I honestly, whenever this got started for me, I was angry about having to go out to these guys. All right, just a little bit. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, I'm just gonna shoot you straight. But what I figured out is that there's no reason to be angry at somebody who's going to be resistant to something he's never done. I mean, at the end of the day, ultimately a Ranky dealer has been he's moved metal. Okay. And so, yeah, the resistance there, I can understand it, but we've shown you, it's proven. I think it can help you. I think it'll help you develop your business even more than what it is right now. So yeah, please listen to what Tanner said. BT, we got any more questions? Okay.
So online, the question is, when